This is Casey Wallace back here at the Portal to Ascension Conference, continuing to bring you some cool conversational collaboration with fellow practitioners and allowing you to get a little glimpse of them, possibly for the first time. But if you're not for the first time, which we think probably more than likely that's the case, just another opportunity to intermingle with their super cool powers and energies and sit back and relax and get a chance to say hello. So, of course, Billy is the most extraordinary presenter and practitioner. We truly honor and recognize his gifts and his talents. And we want to allow you to come into this energy field and allow this conversation truly to inspire you and help you get moving on your journey as well. Billy, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's my greatest pleasure to be chatting with you. For anybody who might not know you, can you tell everybody your full name and what you do?
My name is Billy Carson, and I'm the founder of Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, Forbidden Knowledge. And you can find me on forbiddenknowledge.com, as well as on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr at Forbidden Knowledge. I'm considered an expert host on many shows, Deep Space on Gaia, Ancient Civilizations. My research has been used on shows like Ancient Aliens and other huge documentaries and docuseries that have been online dealing with archaeology in the ancient past. I also have my own show on the Dame Dash Network called Forbidden Knowledge with Billy Carson, and I'm also on the Travel Channel on UFOs, The Untold Truth, and UFOs, The Lost Evidence.
How did you get started in all of that?
Well, it's a really, strange story. When I was a kid, we moved down to New York. We moved from New York City down to Miami.
Okay.
It was kind of a culture shock because we went from the nice suburbs of my grandmother's house to a place called Opelika in Miami, and that city's got its own Wikipedia page, not for a good reason.
Oh my hell!
They built a steel gate around the city to keep the crime on the inside.
Oh my hell! And you were living in this?
Living in it. Sleep on the floor some nights to prevent bullets from hitting you in your bed. And, helicopters landing in the street was a common occurrence. And there were, coming home and seeing the white chalk lines, which they used to do back then, and so forth, was kind of commonplace. But we did live close to the Opelika airport, and so I would watch these airplanes go by and I would pretend I was on the airplanes,
No, wait, I got to back up here just a minute. Okay? Because so I get all of the stuff. Julia's kind of jumping in and wanting to talk to you about all this, but we won't get into that so much right now. Anyway, as a child, you're finding your escape, kind of from this reality in perhaps a fantasized version of kind of an ascended process, a broader view.
Yeah.
So you're watching the airplanes. In a desire to be one of the airplanes, right? But are you also imagining yourself kind of on that airplane, moving into other directions? Do you recall any of that?
I would pretend that I was in the plane looking down back on the city, because from the sky, in my opinion, everything looked tranquil until you got down into the mix of things. That's when you figured out it wasn't as nice as you really thought.
Right.
So I was just imagining, and that was my escape to say, I'm getting out of here and up and away, and I would look back. It's almost like looking back from a higher dimension. Even though it was 1977, I was just 7 years old, but it was my little way of having an escape, things like that. And I would even do things like, even back then, unknowing, this is in the 70s, I would just do my own meditations. I didn't know the word meditation back then, but I would escape through closing my eyes and envisioning myself in different places.
Wow.
And even when it was too hot outside, I would envision myself that I had left, the hot area, hot South Florida, hot Miami, and went to Alaska. And then when I would come back, my skin would actually be cold to the touch. So I knew there was power in the mind just as a very young kid. And, and this is without any outside influence, we only had 4 channels on TV, and we barely could watch it because the TV was always broken anyway. But this is just my own mind, utilizing the power of my own mind. But one day I was out in the backyard and I saw something go across that wasn't an airplane, because I knew an airplane had a fuselage, it had tails,
That's right.
It had a cockpit, and this was more like an oval shape, and it was glowing, and it looked like some kind of glowing metal.
Daytime, nighttime?
Daytime, broad daylight.
Wow.
And it went across the horizon in seconds. Usually a plane takes
Sure.
minutes to go across.
Sure.
And even as a little kid, I knew what I just saw was not an airplane. So the next day I went to my elementary school, Rainbow Park Elementary. I got all the Encyclopedia Britannicas on aerospace.
Now, how old are you here?
7.
So, Billy, I have grandchildren, okay, and I'm thinking my grandchildren are pretty online, okay, because grandma's a channel.
Right.
Now, of course, I'm thinking, of course, they're fabulous.
Yeah.
Because you're 7 years old, which I do have a 7-year-old grandson, and that's pretty incredible. I'm going to let you keep going. I'm assimilating all the components of your story. Go ahead.
It's it's amazing. I mean, I have a 3-year-old granddaughter as well. But so I go to the Rainbow Park Elementary. It was only 7 houses away from my house, and I took all the Encyclopedia Britannicas because there was no Google, obviously, back then. and I was looking for what I saw, and I didn't find it. I mean, no matter where I looked, but it kept me researching because I was like, wow, we have this, we have this, we have this. And I'm starting to realize there was a lot more advanced technology than what I had known, just being, regular airplanes and cars. There was a lot of stuff out there that was already publicized back then that to me was way out there.
Right.
Even some stuff that I saw back then, we still don't, a lot of people right now don't even know exist.
Right.
But this is public knowledge. But again, nobody's really pulling out the Encyclopedia Britannicas anymore.
Do they have those anymore?
Through synchronicity, about a week later, guess who comes knocking on my door? The encyclopedia salesperson.
Oh, shit.
Yes. And gave my mom a full set on credit.
So here's the deal. It's like you're asking for those runners, right? You're like, somebody help me out here, and you're like, here you go, Carson.
That's it.
Here you go.
That's it. And then I got into everything from mathematics, quantum physics, sciences, biology. Whatever the books had in them, I just digested it, on a consistent basis. And I was so excited to have
And your mind kind of wandering even to components that you had a sense were, although you're looking for the proof of that, but you're already getting a sense of things that you're not actually finding proof of yet. And then you're looking for the proof of those things for validation, right?
For validation, correct.
Okay.
And because I knew that I was a little different from an early age, just the way that my mind worked and looking at, my family members and friends, I was just standing out in front of the house one day, and my mom walked up and said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I just don't feel like I belong here,
Wow.
And she's like, "Well, let me tell you a story about the ancient past." And I was like, "Huh?" She goes, "Yeah, there are beings that have come here before. This is in the 70s.
Your mother is telling you this.
My mother's telling me this.
She's like, "Billy, sit down.
Yeah.
I got a story to tell you." Okay.
It was really an amazing story because it really drove me on a whole other path in my life. And she said that nothing is new under the sun, which is a biblical quote from Ecclesiastes. And she said that people came here a long time ago from another planet, and they had airports here in the ancient times, and you can go find the tops of mountains cut off like in Machu Picchu in Peru.
Sure.
And that became one of my top goals in life, is to go to Machu Picchu and fly over the Nazca lines and so forth and see these terraformed mountains that she was telling me about and everything. So it became like a driving force, which I ended up finally getting a chance to do in 2017.
Cool.
So that was pretty cool. But so that really struck a chord with me, and I really resonated with what she was trying to tell me. Whereas I think a lot of people would never have believed it. She knew that she can talk to me about these kind of things. So that just took me on a path of continuing to research technologies. So I became really like a technology researcher.
Okay.
I started my own business when I was 12 because we were very poor. Some days we'd eat Cairo syrup and toast. It was pretty rough back then. I had holes in my shoes. I would put cardboard in them to keep my feet from touching the street. And I knew that to get out of this situation, I have to help myself. And so I started my own business. After I sold some newspapers, I took that money and invested it into electronics. And I knew that digital electronics was the next big thing. In my mind, it was. And I started an electronics company, became one of the largest wholesale dealers of electronics in Tri-County area. And then I used a lot of that money to fund getting myself clothes, first of all. But by the time I was 16, I was making way more money than my parents. I moved out, ran my business, had my own place, still graduated from high school with excellent grades, and scored so high on the ASVAB test, the military came after me for 5 years to be a pilot. And but continuing to pursue on the side my thirst for information and knowledge about everything in the universe. And then one day I was researching, I became an amateur astronomer, and I was researching the precession of the equinoxes, and I realized that the precession was speeding up. And I was like, what can cause this to speed up? The only way that this can happen, in my mind, was if our sun was needing to create breakaway speed. But breakaway speed from what? So then I said, well, maybe we're orbiting something. Maybe our sun is orbiting something, not just the galactic equator or the galactic center, but maybe it's orbiting something in our solar system or from another star system that interacts. And then through that research, I discovered that we had this, NASA had discovered something, well, they didn't really discover, but they hypothesized that it existed, something called a nemesis, which would be another star in our solar system, which they finally just discovered. I had been talking about this for 10 years. People told me I was a quack and I was crazy, but now they just announced it officially about a year and a half ago that we have a brown dwarf star in our solar system that orbits our sun, so we live in a binary solar system.
Right.
But because of that research, it led me to believe that there could be periodic situations on Earth because of the gravitational waves causing global warming and causing catastrophes, more increased tornadoes, increased strength of hurricanes, mudslides, earthquakes, everything else. I decided that maybe I should build an underground base.
Okay.
So I built a shelter underground called Fort Terra Nova, which is on the History Channel. It's about the size of 3 Walmarts, $20 million project. Yeah, could save the lives of 360 people off grid for 1 year. And I'm bringing this up because during that time is when I had an experience where 2 great aliens came to my house.
Right? Are you finally fucking coming? Right?
Yeah,
I mean, seriously. Now, I got to pause real quick. Is your mother still alive in all of this?
No, she's gone. She left in 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Okay, please continue. I got to hear about the aliens. Okay.
So, I'm doing this project, and I don't know if this is why they showed up, but to me, it kind of correlated with this huge project. We just did the History Channel episode, Countdown to Apocalypse, the Nostradamus episode.
Okay.
And I'm at home after a long day watching some sports updates at about 9 p.m. It's early. I'm not even close to being tired, and the whole room turns lavender, kind of like the color of your thing.
My cool thing here. Okay.
And I thought it was my boys playing a trick on me, so I looked over my left shoulder because that's the way lived in the house. And there were nobody up there. When I turned back around, they were right in front of my face, 2 of them. And it took a long time for me to even have the courage to talk about it because it actually led to a divorce and everything else and scared the family. It was
I have so much shit that goes on in my life, right? I'm just like, come on, let's bring them in, right?
Yeah.
Did you have a sense when they showed up of a little bit of familiarity? Like after the initial kind of human component of the shit factor, I know that oftentimes there's a little bit of an energy that's coming off that kind of immediately starts to calm you down and get you into, I guess I kind of almost want to call it a safe region with them, where you realize you're not threatened, or did you feel threatened?
It was a little different than that. It wasn't that I felt threatened, but I was scared because the shock factor of having it happen. And was I really awake? And I started screaming, but no sound was coming out. It was muted. That was the craziest thing. You can even feel the wind coming out, but no sound. And then what happened was, I don't know, it's not telepathic communication in words that I can understand, but my brain literally started shaking in my skull, and it actually did hurt.
Wow.
And it lasted for about maybe 15 seconds, not that long, but as fast as it started, it stopped. And then they turned and they walked away. They didn't really walk, they kind of dangled. They don't really have a normal gait.
Right.
And so it was very bizarre, but they went right through the wall. And to me, that wasn't magic or anything. To me, that's just technology. Because if you can phase shift your atomic frequency to match anything, you can walk right through it or put your hand right through it or anything else. So, but then the colors came back, the TV came back, and I ran around the house and nobody heard or saw a thing. Everybody was horrified and frightened by the story, obviously, and but the next day, well, even that night, but the next day it triggered me to go to the computer because that night this phrase, worldwide telescope, was repeating in my mind thousands of times to the point where I was grabbing my head And so the next day I went on my computer, I went to excite.com because Google was still competing.
Oh, okay.
Google wasn't the big thing back then.
Okay.
Yeah, it was getting close. It was starting, but it wasn't, the main one.
Okay.
And so I go to excite.com. I think it was built into my browser, and I type in Worldwide Telescope, and the first thing that pops up is worldwidetelescope.org, and I almost fell out of my chair. And it's still there today. The software, you download the software into your computer. Now you don't have to download it. Now it just plays because computers are much stronger and faster, or you can still download it if you want. It's a choice now. But back then you had to download it, and it gives you access to all the space probe data from all the missions, everything from Apollo 11, Voyager, the Mars Global Surveyor, all the Opportunity, Spirit rover, Mars Curiosity rover, all this data's in there, all the imagery and everything. Even the sky view's in there, all the constellations. You can travel through space using this, and you can, a lot of the data came from the Hubble. You can zoom in, zoom out. You can go into 2-mass infrared mode and look for brown dwarfs and red dwarf stars and all this crazy stuff. And I was blown away. And the first thing I was drawn to was panoramas from Mars. So I clicked on Mars Panorama. It had a really nice color on it. And I went to Opportunity rover, and right away I started seeing anomalies, things that shouldn't be if this is really Mars. Why is this object here? Why are these broken down structures here?
Sure.
So that got me into anomaly hunting.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, this is so bizarre. And I started finding other people after I cataloged so many of them, hundreds of them, that were online kind of doing the same thing. It's about 14 of us, and we formed a group called the United Family of Anomaly Hunters. And we've now downloaded over 1 million images from the various different space agencies, and we've cataloged 58,000 anomalies, which have made international news many times over, and raised a lot of questions with a lot of scientists and astronomers and astrophysicists and everything else. So it's just this journey, it just keeps going. And some of these structures I saw matched ancient structures on Earth, so now I'm going, why? Why is this matching? Got to be one architect. That took me into ancient civilizations. So technology going into space took me into the ancient past.
Okay.
And I've now to date read over 1,000 cylinder scrolls, cuneiform tablets, scriptures, books.
Does it drive people crazy that you're freakishly aware of shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true. They go, once we ask you a question, you start talking, you turn on, and then you're plugged into something. And it scares people sometimes.
Well, that's because people love to kind of hide behind secrets, and transparency is very terrifying for people. And for people who are searching for all of that transparency, you have a tendency to hit a discord, with people.
Right.
What do you think is the most surprising thing that you have discovered so far?
The most surprising thing I would say would be these structures on Mars that have in front of them what look like to be biological, bipedal, bilateral hominids. In other words, stand upright people that look to be alive.
Okay.
In other words, the camera on the Mars Curiosity rover caught them from a couple of angles, and they turned to look at the camera.
Okay.
I've never seen a statue do that before.
Okay.
So the fact that there may be life directly above us, right above our head. The next thing I did was I said, wow, after we cataloged so many anomalies on Mars, because there's a lot of science data from Mars, I said, what about Venus and Mercury? USGS.gov for Venus, we've now scanned the entire planet through the Arecibo satellite in Puerto Rico with a radar scan. I downloaded all the radar images, and I started to see structures on Venus, which that also made the news.
Right.
They're undisputed. Anybody can go to USGS.gov and pull down the same images. They're going to get the same exact photo that I did without any editing, no Photoshop, no nothing. And it became a well-documented anomaly, an entire city that kind of resembles Dubai, from space.
Sure.
And then the last one would be the anomaly on Mercury. The Mercury Messenger mission, which just was completed a couple of years ago, did a lot of research on the chemical composition of Mercury, discovering that there's billions of tons of liquid water, as publicly announced, not just this molten hot planet raining aluminum rain and all this crazy stuff. 41% oxygen, more oxygen than Earth. We only have like 22% oxygen here on Earth. And all the organic materials needed for life. The planet rotates once every 61 days on its axis.
Okay.
So that means it's a very slow rotation, so the majority of the planet's never in direct sunlight.
Okay.
So if you inhabit the pole areas, you'll have liquid water and evenly cool temperatures. And even people like us, humans like us, can probably go there and sustain with the right equipment on. And there's anomalies there. There's one structure that I documented, which is about a mile wide, and it's backed up to what looks like to be a giant reservoir of water, and there's a tower coming up that, with the measuring tool that they give you, it's about a mile high. So this is amazing stuff. So, this is stuff that's earth-shattering, mind-blowing stuff, and you go, why is this stuff here? No matter who you give it to analyze it, it's still there.
Right.
So, instead of looking at 20 million light years, we found a planet that might be habitable in the Goldilocks zone. No, it's right above our heads.
Well, I was watching a documentary one time, on an off subject, but to totally support what you're saying. It was actually about an orca whale and how the orca whale interacted with humans here on the Earth. But the tagline was, "We're looking in outer galaxies for aliens," right? And they're right here. They're right here. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what is the thing that you know is there, Billy, that you haven't proven yet?
The thing that I know is that I haven't proven yet is, for example, on Mars, the fact that I believe that anybody can go live on Mars right now from Earth without, you need an acclimation process. It's probably like being about 14 to 15,000 feet above sea level, which the Tibetan monks seem to do just fine. But I think that we can go and live on Mars right now without any type of special equipment or spacesuit, I think. And also now that they've come back and said that the soil is good for better than Earth, it says, for growing crops. So I do believe now, I haven't been able to prove the atmosphere, but because they can't give us a science data, but I know that
of course, science is late for what we know.
Right.
And that, in my mind, is all about supporting each other. It's not about separation and division of things. It supports the binary aspect of the mind, which is the ethereal and the logical, that brings everything into place, which is super cool. Have you seen your aliens again?
No. Now, I've seen a lot of UFOs.
Okay.
The last time I seen them was at Isetti Ranch, James Gilliland's ranch in Washington State.
Yeah.
It was not just me, it was about 50 other people that came from all over the world to there. No matter what net you go to Isetti Ranch, you're going to see with the naked eye UFOs.
Yeah, we have them. So we live in southern Utah, and there's a mountain range by us. In fact, Lori Spagna, several people from there, like, are you seeing that? I'm like, yeah. They do this kind of little scan of, I don't know necessarily us. I think they're checking things out vibrationally of the fields, and either something's already under there or they're looking to put something there. Do your friends think you're crazy sometimes?
Some of them. I really don't have that many.
Now you do.
Yeah, now I do. Now with the community, yes. When the community has been phenomenal too. It's like, racial barriers drop. It's just been
That's
great.
right, because you're black and you're not supposed to see this stuff.
Right,
this
exactly.
Is really for
well, that's what they say.
This is for white people.
That's the exact quote, actually. That's the exact quote that I've gotten many times. And because I kind of still resonate with a lot of the younger crowd and a lot of the urban crowd, I've been able to now, slowly but surely, a lot of people are starting to come around.
Wow.
And the book that I put out, which became a bestseller, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets.
So wait, say that again.
Compendium of the Emerald Tablets.
Okay.
It's a bestseller. It's out of 200,000 authors in ancient civilizations. It's been as high as number 6, as low as number 20, but it's been there for about now 6 months as a bestseller. But a lot of people have gotten that book, and because of it, now they're coming around. And then also Damon Dash, the entertainment mogul, I'm on his TV network. He gave me my own show.
Nice.
And that taps into that market as well. So now they're starting to feel a lot more comfortable. Like, oh, okay, well, sometimes it takes a little TV to reprogram people.
That's your validation, mass validation.
So with DTV, because we're done deprogramming and kind of reprogramming, but they're coming around. So I'm pretty excited about it. Starting to see that it's going to take a lot more time, but there is a shift happening there in that culture as well.
Well, what's interesting is we're always talking about things that dissolve the divisions, things that dissolve the divisions.
Yeah.
Of course, in my work of channeling and in this realm of spirituality that totally supports everything and all that you do, light beings don't have gender or color.
Thank you. That's right.
Right? We're light.
That's right.
We're light. Okay? And any way that you can bring somebody back to that kind of truth for themselves. Every direction is that serving your own selves, our own selves,
That's
right?
it. That's the key.
Tell everybody again where all the networks and the shows that they can find you,
Okay.
please.
My name is Billy Carson. I'm the founder of Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4. Also, you can look me up on the Travel Channel, UFOs The Untold Truth, UFOs The Lost Evidence, 2 separate shows. Season 2, I'm in both. Season 2 on both. Also on Dame-Studios app or Dame-Studios on Roku or Apple TV or Amazon TV. It's called Forbidden Knowledge with Billy Carson. You can also find me on Gaia as well. Just go to the Gaia.com or go to the Gaia app, type in Billy Carson, and I'm in about 15 different shows there, various different shows, and I'm also working on my own show on Gaia TV as well, Gaia.com, GAIA.com.
Thank you for being so generous with us today.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate you, and really appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everybody for being with us here at the Portal to Ascension conference, where all of these superpower people are gathering. You can go to their website to check out all the programming of all of our presentations, sending you love and light and expansiveness always.